As of right now, the Lakers have a glaring weakness entering the offseason, that being their center position. I mean, at the current moment, they're one center under contract, and I say center kind of with quotation marks here, happens to be Maxi Kleber, who is more of a power forward center hybrid. And apart from him, their other centers or centers from last season are not currently under contract, including Jackson Hayes, Alex Len, Christian Koloko, Trey Jemison, or even for their power forward center hybrids and more so small ball centers, neither one of LeBron nor Dorian Finney-Smith are officially under contract either, both of which have a player option on their current contract. So with that in mind here, what's a big man the Lakers could target on the open market? And specifically for this video, how about a big bruising big man that could add more bulk to their center rotation? Talking about guys like Steven Adams, for example, a guy that many Laker fans want and definitely coming off a good playoff performance, and then 2 additional big bruising big men with him, as Steven Adams might not be a viable option from his potential price tag. So we'll talk about that during this video. But before we get too far into it, if you're looking for more NBA content from me and want quick direct to the point clips from my main channel and my second channel, then don't forget to check out JSM Clips. Here I post exactly what it sounds like, quick clips from my main channel, update videos that don't really make sense to make into an 8 to 10 minute video, and simply more content that you might not see on my main channel. So be sure to check it out, and I genuinely would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. But now getting back to our topic, and before we get into our physical bruising big man targets, we gotta talk about what they have to offer them with, aka the Lakers' spending power in free agency. And well, at this point, we don't know exactly what they might have. They theoretically could get cap space by dumping a bunch of players off their team, but that's not very likely. And the more likely route for them to take is either getting the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which would require them to stay below the second tax apron, likely having to get a LeBron pay cut to get there, so maybe not the most likely option, albeit the most ideal option if LeBron would take that pay cut. But if not for that, then they'll be left with the taxpayer mid-level exception, only worth roughly $5.6 million, compared to the full mid-level exception, worth roughly $14.2 million. So definitely a massive difference there, and it would in fact affect the player they could sign and the potential free agent they could sign, especially if we're talking about center. But if they do in fact have the full mid-level exception, then they might be able to sign a guy like Steven Adams. Like I said, coming off a great playoff performance and definitely did make an impact. I mean, hadn't been in the postseason for quite some time now and many had forgotten about him, but he sent a little bit of a reminder this playoff round. Matching up with Golden State, and many thought that would be a bad matchup for him, but he definitely came through for their team, helping them push it to a Game 7, which they unfortunately did not win if you were hoping for a Golden State Warriors downfall. But Steven Adams definitely did make an impact. And well, that's led to many Laker fans wanting him to be either their new starting center or their potential backup center coming off the bench and still filling a fairly big role for their team. But like I said, after that playoff performance, he likely will command a pretty decent contract, and with the Houston Rockets having his full bird rights, they can offer anything up to a max contract, so it definitely could become a bidding war for him, and if the Lakers don't have the full mid-level exception, I really doubt they get him. But if they do in fact have it, definitely think about offering it to Steven Adams or maybe a portion of it to him, coming off a playoff run of averaging roughly 6 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, over 1 block per game, shooting 60% for the field in 22 minutes per game, making an impact on both ends of the court, and definitely from a bruising standpoint. I mean, per 36-minute average, the guy grabbed nearly 15 rebounds per game, over 7 offensive rebounds per game, and made an impact on both ends of the court simply from the way he played and how physical he was on the court. Something that often goes overlooked, and especially against a team like the Warriors, often beating teams from their versatility and speed on the court, and often playing a guy like Steven Adams off the court, but not in that particular matchup. So Adams showing that he's definitely not out of the tank yet, has some left in the tank, is still fairly mobile and can protect the rim a little bit, a great rebounder that'll never leave, a great screen setter, and although maybe not the best lob threat or best overall rim protector, still would be a pretty good fit for a team like the Lakers, would be a great pick and roll partner with Luka Doncic, obviously a great offensive rebounder and a great kick out guy for their team, and somebody they definitely should keep in mind in my opinion. Maybe not somebody they try to overpay for, definitely wouldn't look to sign and trade for him, which would require a 3-year contract and probably trying to outbid the Houston Rockets. Definitely want Steven Adams, but probably wouldn't go that far with it. But if they do end up with their non-taxpayer mid-level exception, then maybe think about offering it to Steven Adams and trying to take him away from the Rockets. However, like I said, that's definitely not a guarantee for them. Unfortunately, they're probably more likely to end up with the taxpayer mid-level rather than the non-taxpayer mid-level, which again is definitely a really big difference, about a $10 million difference for simply next season, or over a 4-year duration, roughly a $40 million difference. So yeah, that definitely would affect the player they could sign or simply even offer a contract to. And if they end up with the taxpayer mid-level, maybe think about a guy like Sharpe, for example. Not sure that'll be enough for him, and with him being a restricted free agent, maybe not the most likely option, but if they would offer him that and the Brooklyn Nets don't want to match it, then he could be a viable option for their team. Only 23 years old, definitely has some mini Andre Drummond kind of talent to his game, is a great rebounder, great screen setter, very physical bruising big man, which of course is kind of the topic and trend of this video, and Sharpe definitely would fill that mold for them. Coming off a season of averaging roughly 8 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 1 block per game, shooting 52.1% for the field, only playing 18.1 minutes per game, but definitely making an impact in that time frame, I think he'd be a good target for their team. And then, like I talked about, the sign and trade ability, maybe not for a 31-year-old like Steven Adams, but maybe for a guy like Sharpe. I mean, if they can't pull off a trade for the Nets starting center, Nick Claxton, a guy I've talked about and definitely a good fit for their team in my opinion, then maybe they could hunt for their backup, Sharpe. Like I said, maybe could pull off a sign and trade for him, is required to be a 3-year contract up to a 4 or 5-year contract, doesn't have to be any guaranteed salary here, could even be a veteran minimum non-guaranteed salary. Obviously that wouldn't be enough here, but could be anything from a 3-year $15 million contract, kind of comparable to the taxpayer mid-level exception, or maybe something like a 3-year $20 to $25 million contract to try and pry him away from the Brooklyn Nets. Something they might not be willing to match, or something that if they're not willing to offer Sharpe that kind of salary, maybe he'd rather take it with their team, and rather than lose him for nothing, the Nets might agree to a sign and trade with him. Now I know he might not be the best center on the open market, not comparable to a guy like Miles Turner for example, but if we're trying to be realistic and not play NBA 2K here, he would be a realistic target for them, either potentially through the taxpayer mid-level, worth again roughly $5.6 million, or through a smaller kind of sign and trade deal, maybe offering him again a 3-year $20 million contract that might be enough to get him, and I think he would be a good long-term fit for their team too. Again, only 23 years old, only appears to be getting better, both offensively and defensively, and then always has been and always will be a great rebounder, which would address a few needs to their team. So I would keep an eye on Sharpe. But if we can't get Sharpe or Steven Adams, how about a cost-effective veteran option that would probably be guaranteed to take a taxpayer mid-level exception? And well, definitely not as intriguing of an option if you ask me, but you could go with a guy like Clint Capela. Now many tend to remember what he was rather than what he now is, which happens to be a declining athletic ability big man, declining defensive ability, declining finishing ability, and simply not as effective as he once was. But if we're talking about a contract or a salary that's $5.5 million or less, then I could probably stomach it for that price. I mean, he's still a great rebounder, grabbing 8.5 of them last season in only 21.4 minutes per game, or per 36-minute average, roughly 14.5 per game. So yeah, definitely an effective rebounder yet, a great offensive rebounder for them, could keep the ball alive and could be very effective in some matchups, but don't count on him to be a great rim protector, don't count on him to be a switchable defender, definitely not as good as he was from a lob threat standpoint, his hands have never been great and he doesn't get up quite as high as he used to, so don't forget to factor all that in. If you're talking about a backup, great option for them in my opinion, but not for a starting option. Can't rely on him to play 25 to 30 minutes per game anymore, can't rely on him to be great in every matchup, definitely not matchup proof, and probably not the best option on the open market, but a viable option for the right price. And well, with all of that in mind here, what do you guys think? If the Lakers sign a big physical bruising big man, which could either be for their starting spot or their backup spot, who would you like to see them go after? Would it be a guy like Steven Adams, maybe a guy like Sharpe, or Clint Capela, or somebody I did not mention? Who do you like to see them target? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.